Radha Krishna Foundation presents Samarpan, an offering of service.
वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की जय। सद्गुरु महाराज की जय। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देव महेश्वरा गुरुर्साक्षात् परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः। सद्गुरु महाराज की जय। Praise the Ganapati, Ganesh Bhagwan, the remover of obstacles. Gajananam bhutaganaadisevitam kapittajambo phalacharubhakshanam umasutam शोकविनाशकारकं नमामि विघ्नेश्वरपादपङ्कजम्। सर्वमङ्गलमाङ्गल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थसाधिके शरण्ये त्र्यम्बके गौरी नारायणी नमोस्तुते। तू शंकर भगवान कर्पूर गौरम करुणावतारम संसार सारम भुजगेन्द्रहारम सदा वसन्तं हृदयारविन्दे भवं भवानी सहितं नमामि। गाये गणपति जगवंदन शंकर सुवन भवानी नंदन। गाये गणपति जगवंदन गाये गणपति जगवंदन गाये गणपति जगवंदन शंकर सुवन भवानी नंदन शंकर सुवन भवानी नंदन गाये गणपति जगवंदन गाये गणपति जगवंदन। मोदक प्रिय मुद मंगल दाता मोदक प्रिय मुद मंगल दाता विद्यावारिधि बुद्धि विधाता विद्यावारिधि बुद्धि विधाता गाइए गणपति जगवंदन गाइए गणपति जगवंदन गणपति भगवान की जय। नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। श्रेयांस धर्मो विगुणः परधर्मात् स्वनुष्ठितात् श्रेयांस धर्मो विगुणः परधर्मात् स्वनुष्ठितात् स्वभावनियतं कर्म कुर्वन्नाप्नोति किल्बिषम् कुर्वन्नाप्नोति किल्बिषम्। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Verse 47 of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18 of Bhagavad Gita, this verse explains that it is better to do one's own dharma. It is better to perform one's own dharma, even though imperfectly, than to do another's dharma, even though we can do so perfectly. By doing one's innate duties according to this verse in Bhagavad Gita, a person does not incur sin. By that it means that whatever we think, whatever our core values are, and we perform something, and if even we fail at it or we make mistakes along the way, Bhagavad Gita is saying that whatever we feel is our dharmic responsibilities and we perform them even imperfectly, it is not incurring sin. We have to realize that we have a duty towards ourselves as human beings. And that is a dharmic responsibility, a sacred duty. We also have a duty to God, to Bhagavan, to fulfill the purpose of our life, and by extension, a duty to our children, to other children, to society, etc. To lead by example, because what we do, they will follow. Too often we say what makes me good enough is to have other people think well of me. If we have that mentality, the only time you feel good enough is when others think well or approve of who you are or what you do. Then that approach automatically, by default, would start running our lives. So if we worry about what others think or other people think of you, if we worry about what other people think of us, then truly we will have more confidence in their opinion than we have in our own. Because practice makes perfect. We've been doing that for a long time, so we have no more confidence in ourselves, but in the opinion of others. We have to realize very quickly as human beings that our future does not depend on the permission or the opinion of other people. When we assess our work by someone else's measure, inevitably we will come up short, regardless of how good we are in that particular field. And this is where misguided opinion and the unjust criticism from others will alter your own course, the course of your life, a course towards bliss and happiness. There's a very popular Hindi saying. It says, "Jaban ko lagam nahi hoti." That there is no stopping one's tongue. If we think we can control the way people speak, or more particularly speak about us, we would always feel that is not possible. If we go along with that line of thinking, then what would happen is that the most important things in our lives, the things that are most important to us, the things that matters to us most, will become buried under the opinion of others. Why? Simply because they don't approve of it. That can be for many reasons. It can be because they don't understand it. It can be because they don't agree with you. Or it can just be because they would just like for you to fail at it, because they're not the ones doing it. That happens very often. They might even try to counsel you. They tell you, you know what, be careful what you're embarking upon. That, I know you well and that's really not your cup of tea. Trying to hold you back from something you can accomplish, something good that you can do for yourself and your family and humanity. You will hear things like, this is really out of your league. And if you really go ahead and do this and you fail at it, you'll be badly criticized. And I'm not so sure if you're ready to handle that kind of criticism, if you're ready to handle that kind of failure. And so they encourage you to live within the confines of mediocrity, the confines of what is average, of what is ordinary. But it is our duty, it is a gift given by God to us to explore that which is extraordinary. And learn to not only explore, but lead an extraordinary life. That sounds like a big word, it's not. It just means that which is not ordinary. Because if you go with ordinary, if you go with average, then you become everybody else. Average is not extraordinary because it's average. Neither is ordinary extraordinary because it's ordinary. You have to take it one notch higher, because we all have the potential to do so. Why are we not doing so? Because we fear criticism. We also have to stop and think and realize that criticism is the price you pay for leaping past mediocrity. From a spiritual and scriptural standpoint, why should you not fear criticism? There are beautiful dohas. Tulsidas ji says, in this one, Kabir Das tells us why we should not fear criticism. निंदकनिये राखिए आंगन कुति छवाए बिन पानी साबुन बिना निर्मल करे सुभाए निंदकनिये राखिए आंगन कुति छवाए बिन पानी साबुन बिना निर्मल करे सुभाए बोलो राम 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 निंदक निये राखिए. That this insult, this criticism that we can have from others, the people who do so to us, what should we do to them? According to Kabir Das, should we try to get rid of them? Should we exchange fire? Should we try to counsel them and get someone to help us so that they can stop criticizing us. No. Kabir Das says that we should keep these people who criticize us very close to us. Angana kuti samay, actually bring them in your angan, in your courtyard. Make a little kutia in your courtyard and keep them close to you. Why? Bina pani, sabun bina. That by them doing so without water and without soap, nirmala kale subhai, they will purify you. Why? As they criticize you, you will find ways to make yourselves better, to excel at what you're doing, because you have someone who's constantly checking upon you and reserves the right to criticize you. And so you always try to take your game one notch higher. So Kabir Das says, keep them close to you. Don't worry about them. That you can purify yourself without soap and water. So we should use this as a stimulant. When people criticize us, instead of returning fire, use it as a stimulant to grow, to excel. See, we feel worthy or not based on the approval and the indignation of other people. That's when we feel that we're worthy. Most people these days, it's not a bad thing, but we have a Facebook page. You put up a post there, and you check it a few minutes after and see how many people like it. Your Facebook likes. Depending on how many people liked it, that will now determine how you feel. Do you feel elated? Or do you feel down, you feel disliked? That will be based on how many people liked or did not like your post. And so those actions or non-actions by others will now determine whether you're troubled or whether you're blissful. It shouldn't have to be that way. We should not have to worry about the approval of others, as long as we know we've done the right thing. If we subject ourselves to the opinion of others, then we can be considered slaves, because someone else is controlling us. We can be a king in one day, and in the same day we can become a pauper, a slave on that very day. Why? Because we've gifted our thinking process into someone else's control. And that will determine how you feel. We empower other people and other circumstances to shape much of our lives. And by default. See, these feelings rise out of deep vulnerabilities, and we have to get rid of those vulnerabilities. We have to get rid of this deep dependency for acceptance from others. Get rid of the feeling, the sense of, we do all these things for a sense of belonging, for a sense of importance, a sense of worth, for a feeling that we matter, all by the imperfect opinion of others. So what we do, we reactively live the scripts handed down to us. And that script is only designed to fulfill the agendas of other people. We have to quickly realize that these scripts come from people, not from principles based on our best interest in their heart, but very likely their best interest. So we're either a second creation of our own proactive design, or we're the second creation of other people's agendas. What I mean by that is second creation means everything is created twice. One in thought and second in action. So we can act upon our own thoughts, perform actions based on our own thoughts and what we feel, or perform actions based upon the opinion of others. If we do that based on the opinion of others, we become like driftwood. We become like a helium balloon in the air. A driftwood, a piece of wood floating, it goes wherever the tide goes, back and forth. Cannot decide for itself. Whichever side the wind blows, the helium balloon will blow into that direction in the sky. It would obey the direction of the wind or of the water. But we have a mind of our own. And so we must employ the attitude of not a driftwood, not a helium balloon, but the attitude of a thermostat. Not a thermometer. You know, a thermostat, what does it do? It sets the temperature. It determines what happens. When you set the temperature, you will become happy. You will become comfortable. A thermometer reacts to the current situation. If we keep reacting to the current situation, it will be controlled by everybody else's opinion and their agendas. We have to be a thermostat instead of a thermometer, not dancing to the tune of others. Charles Cooley says that I am not what I think I am. I am not what you think I am. I am what I think you think I am. And so that's a beautiful quote. Essentially, that we give our intellectual, our spiritual, and our social liberties away for free. And so in order to make our point, let's use a little story to condense all the things we have said so far. The story is about a personal zoo. Maybe you've heard it before that in the 1920s there was a wealthy industrialist that controlled a vast majority of the country's prosperity. He had a zoo. This was not a public zoo. It was not a private zoo. It was a personal zoo. So one day, this gentleman heard of a report from an expedition, a rare and most beautiful animal. He got to realize and know that there was not a single one of these animals existing in any zoo anywhere in the world. And so he got interested and he hired a ship and he hired men and he went to Africa and he's questioning the locals about this animal. And over he was told by the locals that you can never catch one of these animals. No one has ever been able to do so. So a reporter was next to him and he was telling the reporter, don't listen to these people, what they say. I will get as many as I want. And in addition to that, without any problem. So he went out at midnight and he poured sweet feed, barley and oats rolled in molasses on the ground. And he left. He did so for 2 weeks. At the beginning of the third week, what he did is he poured sweet feed, but about 20 feet away, he sunk a post and he left. The next night, he poured sweet feed and he sunk another post about 30 feet away. Another post and another post every few nights. He continued to pour feed, and then he started putting boards in between those posts. 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks went by until finally he had a corral built around the feed. Every night the animals will come in. They were coming through the gaps, night after night, until finally they were coming through one gap only. As the last of to make the story short, as the last of the herd went through the gap, that one gap that existed, he moved behind them and he nailed the final board in place with all the animals trapped inside. He chose the ones he wanted and he let go of the other ones. He took them home, put them in a zoo, and he was admiring them in cages. He watched them. Many reporters came and asked him, how were you able to do that? No one has been able to do that before. And he gave a bone-chilling answer to the reporter. He said that I treat animals the same way I treat people. I give them what they want. I give them food, I give them shelter, and anything else they may need. In exchange, they give me their beauty and they give me their freedom. This is what many of us end up doing. Getting some praise, some good words, maybe all of them are false, by others, and we give away our beauty and our freedom. We become a robot. We allow them to think for us. We've traded our brains to them for a sense of belonging. a sense of importance, a sense of worth, like we said before, for a feeling that we matter. So we have to ask ourselves the question, do we give our inner beauty, do we give our core values just for those reasons to others? Are we trading what we cherish most for somebody else's hopes and dreams? Way too many people fall prey to this kind of approach these days, trading your beauty and your freedom for somebody else's future or for their agenda. We have to realize that there's a difference between an opportunity we choose and a trap we walk into. We must know when to integrate these things into our lives or to disintegrate them from our lives, from our existence, so as to not devalue our own lives and the gifts we have from God. What we have to do is keep the third eye open, the eye of spirituality, the eye of dharma, the eye of personal success. If we do so, we will be able to experience bliss every day in our lives. So live your sacred self. Live your sacred duty. Live according to the Bhagavad Gita verse. Live your Swadharma, and you shall every moment of your life experience bliss. Let's join in Kirtan as we bring our session to a close. जग में सुंदर है दो नाम, दो नाम, दो नाम, दो नाम। जग में सुंदर है दो नाम, चाहे कृष्ण कहो या राम। जग में सुंदर है दो नाम, चाहे कृष्ण कहो या राम। बोलो राम राम राम, बोलो श्याम श्याम श्याम। बोलो राम राम राम, बोलो श्याम श्याम श्याम। जग में सुंदर है दो नाम, चाहे कृष्ण कहो या राम। बोलो राम राम राम, बोलो श्याम श्याम श्याम। बोलो राम राम राम, बोलो श्याम श्याम श्याम। एक कंस पापी को मारे, एक दुष्ट रावण संहारे। एक कंस पापी को मारे, एक दुष्ट रावण संहारे। दोनों दीन के दुख हरत है, दोनों बल के धाम। चाहे कृष्ण कहो या राम, जग में सुंदर है दो नाम। चाहे कृष्ण कहो या राम, जग में सुंदर है दो नाम। चाहे कृष्ण कहो या राम। बोलो राम राम राम, बोलो श्याम श्याम श्याम। बोलो राम राम राम, बोलो श्याम श्याम श्याम। बोलो राम बिहारी लाल की जय।